Many of us struggle to wind down after our busy days, but it is so vital to get a good night's sleep so that we can rest and recover. So this yoga sequence is designed to help you start to calm down and slow down so we can get a really restful night's sleep. We're going to start seated, so just a nice comfortable position, whether that means you're going to sit on a chair or on the floor or on a pillow. Let's take one hand onto our heart and one hand onto our belly. Eyes can be opened or closed. And we're just going to connect with a nice easy rhythm for our breath. So noticing how your belly and your chest rise as you take your inhales, and then soften as you take your exhales. Once you've taken a few rounds of that really intentional breath, we're going to start with some slow circles with the shoulders. So you can let your hands just rest comfortably in your lap. And then bringing your shoulders forward, up towards the ears, bringing your shoulder blades together on your upper back so your shoulders can slide down and then come back forward again. So trying to make the circles with your shoulders as big as we can. Thinking of lubricating that movement, so releasing any tension across the tops of the shoulders or the upper back. And then once we've done a few in that first direction, we're going to start to take a few circles in the other direction as well. So feel free to do as many of these circles as you'd like. Just noticing how your shoulders and your upper back are feeling at the end of the day. And then we're going to reach for a strap or a belt, just anything that's nice and long that we can take a hold of in each hand. We're going to take the arms nice and wide, have our elbows about straight-ish, so they don't have to be totally locked out. And then we're going to take the strap out in front of us, up overhead, and then back down behind us. So this is called shoulder flossing. It's really great for any tension that we're building across the front of the chest and the shoulders. As you're taking the strap overhead and then down behind you, feel free to pause in any spot where you've got a lot of tension or tightness to give it an opportunity to open up. And as best as we can, we want to keep our spine in this neutral position, so keeping your low ribs drawing in instead of arching through the back to get that strap up and overhead. As you do a couple rounds, you might start to feel a little bit more open and you might start to walk your hands a little closer towards each other on the strap. We're going to keep that strap in both hands, take the arms up overhead, and then start to come into some side body stretches. So we're going to pull the strap down towards the ground with the right hand. So our left hand lifts up towards the ceiling, lengthening down the left side of the body. And then same thing on the other side. So left hand pulls down and then right hand lifts up. We'll repeat this a couple times per side. You're just looking to get that nice long line down the side of the torso, through the ribs, maybe even feeling that through the back of the shoulder, that area behind the armpit. And you can take your gaze in whatever position is comfortable for the neck. So that might be up towards the sky. That might mean looking down towards the ground. And once we're done that, we're going to take our strap, pass it off to the side. You'll interlace your hands behind your low back. So you might choose to still use the strap here if grabbing a hold of that interlace is tough. And then we're going to wrap the interlace of our hands over towards the outside of our right hip. So that means your left arm is going to wrap around your low back. And then we're going to let our right ear fall towards the direction of the right shoulder. After that, you'll just move around intuitively, so letting your chin either fall down towards your chest or lifting up towards the sky. We're continuing to try and release some of that tension through the neck and the shoulders, but you might even notice a bit of a stretch through the jaw as well as you lift your chin up towards the ceiling. Just try and be gentle here so we're not pulling too hard on all those tiny little muscles and tendons that line the side of the neck and the shoulder. And again, feel free to pause if you find a spot that needs a little bit of extra time to lengthen out and stretch. And then we'll switch to the other side. So we're going to keep the interlace of the hands, wrap our right arm around our low back, taking our interlace over towards our left hip, and then letting our left ear fall towards our left shoulder. And then just explore by letting your chin gently fall down towards your chest, and then slowly letting your chin lift up towards the ceiling. So these first few movements are so good for those of us who spend our days sitting at a desk and notice that we start to get really tight or sore through the shoulders and the chest. All right, now we're going to come into our table pose. So that's palms under shoulders, knees under hips, and taking a few rounds of our cat-cow. So rounding the spine, tucking the tailbone under, letting your chin draw in towards your chest, and then coming into a bit of a back bend, letting your tailbone lift up, letting your belly drop down towards the ground, and then looking forward. So trying to bring movement along the entire length of the spine here. Notice if you have a tendency just to move in the low back, can we bring that movement to the upper back between the shoulder blades? Bring in the pelvis as well, tucking your tailbone under and then letting it lift up towards the sky. Sometimes it can feel nice to shift side to side in your cat-cow or forward and back a little bit just to change up where you're feeling that movement. Allow your eyes to stay closed and just let it feel good. And then we're going to step our right foot up towards the outside of our right hand. You can use yoga blocks under your hands here or even bring your hands up onto a chair. And then we're going to take a big circle with the hips. So just imagine a point on the ground underneath your hips, and then you're trying to draw a circle around it. So you're going to let your hips shift off to one side, and then back over to the other side and then forward. So as you take a few circles in that first direction, then you'll change directions when you're ready and take a few circles in the opposite direction as well. At the end of the day, we don't want to have to think too much about perfecting a really technical movement. It's just about feeling good, loosening things up, maintaining that really easy rhythm of our breath. So we've switched over to the opposite side now, stepping the left foot up towards the outside of the left hand, taking a few of those nice big circles in one direction, and then switching directions to take our circles around again. If that back knee is feeling sensitive, take a pillow or a nice soft blanket and place it underneath the knee to cushion it up a little bit. All right, so we're gonna start to make our way down onto our backs. This is where we wanna end up at the end of the practice anyway, so you could even make your way into your bed at this point. So we're gonna set up for a twist. Knees are bent, feet on the ground. Shift your hips a couple inches over towards the left side of your space. And then draw your knees closer towards your chest and let your knees fall over towards the right. You might take pillows under your legs or between your thighs here as well. And then you'll just look in whatever direction is most comfortable for the neck. We have our arms nice and wide, so this can also feel nice for the front of the chest and the shoulders to get that opening across the front of the chest. Twists are a really great opportunity to connect with your breath because we can really feel that sensation of expansion in the belly and the rib cage as we take our inhales, and then softening as we take our exhales. So rib cage draws in, belly draws in towards the spine. And then whenever you're ready, so feel free to hold the twist on that first side as long as you'd like. You're going to bring your knees to center and then plant your feet down again. Sometimes between sides it feels good to take a few moments in that neutral position with our hips at center and our feet planted, and just notice how our spine and our hips and our low back are feeling after the first side. And then whenever you're ready, you'll shift your hips a couple inches over to the right. Knees can come a little closer to your chest, and then you'll take your knees over towards the left. And so if you had looked over your shoulder on the first side, I would recommend taking your gaze in the opposite direction here just to even things out. And then again, pillows or blankets to support the body and make this feel really supported and comfortable are really great options. We can have a tendency to want to rush these slower, longer holds in our practice. But particularly when we're trying to slow things down at the end of the day, we should spend a little bit of time here. So try and soak it in, knowing that there's nowhere else you need to be but right here. And then knees come back to center. Again, same thing as before. Maybe pause for a moment here with your knees bent and your feet planted. There's no rush to move to the next pose. And then whenever you're ready, let's come into our butterfly pose. So soles of your feet come together and your knees fall open towards the sides of your space. Yoga blocks underneath the knees or pillows underneath the knees can be a really great option here. And then you can rest your hands onto your heart and your belly, just like when we started the practice if you'd like. Or if there's another shape that would be really comfortable for the arms, feel free to adjust. So maybe keeping them wide or reaching them up overhead, letting the backs of your hands rest onto the ground, creating almost a diamond shape with the arms. Allowing your eyes either to be opened or closed. Breath is effortlessly flowing through our inhales and our exhales. So we'll finish our practice here. Feel free to take as much time to transition out of your practice. I hope you have a beautiful sleep.